जब माश्क चिदी फिर वो हया दार न आया आया है अलम और अलमदार न आया आया है अलम और अलमदार न आया हर लाश पे बा ई का मददगार ने तगाजी हर लाश पे बा ई का मददगार ने तगाजी बाद उसके कोई शेख का मददगार ना आया है अलम और अलमदार ना आया सलवात
Please welcome Mulla Riyaz with the loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
محمد وعلى محمد صلوات محمد وعلى محمد عجل فرج الفاتحة شفاء مرضى المغفرة الأموات مؤمنين والمؤمنات ثواب الفاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن الرحيم مالك صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يعدي حقه المجتهدون الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى الصلاة والسلام على الرسول المسدد والمصطفى الأمجد سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أجمعين وبآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم ومبغضيهم وغاصب حقوقهم من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وقال الله تعالى أيضا في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى صلوات على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد. Once again I begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent and the Merciful. For all praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this wonderful existence and for giving us this opportunity once again to be Azadar of Imam Hussain alayhi salam and Imam Ali ibn al-Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam, to present our condolences to his holy and sacred grieved mother Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad Allahumma salli ala. And we extend our condolences to our living Imam from his progeny, And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed us in this month to reap from His infinite mercy, as well as to practice properly how we should be good in practicing azadar and azadar Muslims. The ayah that I recited, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمُوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى, it's a very famous ayah, everyone knows about this. That there was a time, salam wa rahmah, there was a time when the Muslims approached the Prophet and they were very grateful to the Prophet, and they asked the Prophet, is there anything that we can do to give you in hadiyah, to bring us out from darkness into nur, into light? And the Prophet said, I do not want anything. The Prophet was instructed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to tell them that, say, O Prophet, I do not ask you for a reward. Do not give me any reward for this message that I have brought you out from zulumat into nur, from blackness, darkness into light, except the love for my family. And in spite of this injunction, we see what transpired in the plains of Karbala. When the Muslims were commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the Prophet, that the reward that you can give to the Prophet is love towards his family, and this is what they did to his family in the plains of Karbala and in the bazaars of Kufa and Sham. So today we grieve the death and martyrdom of our fourth Imam, Imam Sajjad, Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, salawat ala Muhammad wa alayhi. The fourth Imam was born on the 5th of Sha'ban and in the 38th year Hijrah, 38th year after Hijrah. And he was martyred on the 25th of Muharram, that is today, in 95th year after Hijrah. Now he is revered by many as one of the greatest leaders in Islamic history. Assalamu alaikum. And virtually in every school of thought in the religion of Islam, every school of thought, he is revered as an exemplar when it comes to piety, when it comes to worship, spirituality, and humility. For Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein is seen as a colossus giant from the tragedy of Karbala when it comes to spirituality. Today, every school in Islam takes their spiritual knowledge from Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein alayhi salam. And what you find is that unfortunately his life hasn't been studied in the way it should be studied. Many schools in Islam, or many schools in the religion of Islam, have limited study of the life or the biography of Ali ibn al-Hussein, or talk about his emotional aspect of his character. In the idea that when we normally mention Ali ibn al-Hussein, and we always mention him in the context of the strikes to us is Karbala. That's all we know about him. Whenever we mention Ali ibn al-Hussein or Imam Sajjad, the only thing a person can think of is Karbala and the tragedy of the 10th of Muharram. But it is very rare for the scholars to dissect Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein outside the tragedy of Karbala. I mean, it would be really ingenious of a person who knew the character of Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein outside Karbala. Normally when we hear about his life, you hear as this man who was continuously crying 35 years after Karbala, for 35 years, who was sad after Karbala. But there isn't much of an analysis of Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein as the greatest spiritual reformer as Ali ibn al-Hussein, who changed the direction of the religion of Islam when the religion was at its lowest ebb, when it was almost on the verge of death, in the time of Yazid, when Yazid took power. Therefore, today we will see in a brief manner to examine this personality who himself is seen as a colossus giant from the tragedy of Karbala. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. One of the most outstanding, trait of Imam Zainul Abidin is, in the Islamic history that we have so many khutbats from personalities like Bibi Fatima Zahra Salamullahi alayha, when she went to demand her right from the oppressor, and the khutbah she gave out. That is one khutbah that we know. Although we haven't studied it much, but we know that she gave her a khutbah. And then there is a khutbah of Imam Zainul Abidin in the court of Yazid. And we hardly know anything about this. Very few. The Prophet's khutbah of Ghadir, 3-hour khutbah. And we know only 30 seconds of it. And what's that? Man kuntu mawlahu fa'adh aliyun. Or at the most we know that inni tarikun fikum al-thaqalain kitabullahi wa itrati ahl bayti. That's all we know about the Prophet's khutbah of Ghadir. I mean, that's how ignorant we are. Maybe not all of us. Maybe some of the scholars have studied. But most of the laybys, about if you ask them khutbah of Ghadir, they will tell you, yes, man kuntu mawla, or inni tarikun fikum al-thaqalain. These are the two major things that we know from the khutbah. From Bibi Fatima's khutbah, we know nothing. We know nothing. That how she literally vanquished the oppressor at that time with that knowledge. Bibi Zainab's khutbah in Sham, in front of Yazid, we hardly know anything. If we know at the most, that she tells Yazid, La tushal, means don't be very happy, because you are going to come to a horrible end. That's all we know. And the khutbah of Imam Jafar Sadiq, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, is hardly ever mentioned. Or people don't take the trouble to read sometimes. So therefore, I'll just give out a few excerpts of the khutbah that Imam Zainul Abidin presented in front of Yazid. He was only 22 or 24. I mean, we have to take a lesson. I'm telling myself that I have to take a lesson. That a young man of 24 and gives out that khutbah that shook the throne of Yazid. He was forced to release Ahlul Bayt immediately after this khutbah. When they arrived into the court of Yazid, the qafila of Ahlul Bayt, Imam Zainul Abidin saw, the court of Yazid was not that his court and his few ministers were there, no. Those who have been to Sham, Jami' Amawi, if you've seen, it's a huge area. There were 900 dignitaries sitting in that area. How many? 900, elite dignitaries that were seated in that area. When the caravan of Ahlul Bayt was paraded in front of Yazid. And there was a man on the mimbar, on the pulpit, who was giving out a khutbah in favor of Banu Umayyah, praising Yazid, praising his father Muawiyah, praising his grandfather Abu Sufyan, and praising Abu Sufyan's wife, who was a cannibal. She ate the liver of Hazrat Hamza, Prophet's uncle. And he was praising all of them. And Imam saw all this melee that was going on. Can you imagine? He has endured so much from Karbala to Kufa, Kufa to Sham. He is wounded everywhere. Sleepless nights, sleepless days, no food, no water. And he tells Yazid, if you allow me, I want to go on this box. He didn't say mimbar. He says, I want to go on this wooden box and talk. because he did not even consider that pulpit as a mimbar, Imam Zainul Abidin. The word that he used is khashab, means a wooden box. I want to go on this wooden box and say something. And of course Yazid refused. I mean, this is the pas manzar, this is what transpired before he gave the khutbah. Yazid did not allow him because he knew what was going to happen. But those dignitaries that were sitting there, he said, Yazid, why? Why? Let us hear him out. Because he is in shackles. He's got chains all over. He's got a talk in his neck. He is chained in his hands, body and feet. They are all, his family members are all tied in a rope. They are not going to run away anywhere. So why not give him a chance? So reluctantly Yazid agrees for Imam Zainul Abidin to go on the pulpit and talk. And then very slowly he tells his advisor that this is going to be my downfall. He knew that this is going to be my downfall because now he has allowed Imam Zainul Abidin to speak. And he gave a khutbah, an outstanding, magnificent khutbah, which shook the whole of the Yazid's throne and his empire. And I'll just give you a gist of it. He said, Yazid, and the congregation is listening, that Imam says that, listen to me, Allah has granted us with 6 qualities. And He has given us excellence in 7 qualities. And then he makes them count. That Allah has granted us knowledge. He has given us knowledge. Allah has given us patience. Allah has given us eloquence. That when we speak, it has an effect on the listener. Allah has given us generosity. Allah has given us forbearance. And Allah has given the love of believers in their heart for us. The believers, they love us. These are the 6 qualities that Allah has given us. And He has given us 7 excellence. These are His words. He says, number 1, from us is Rasulullah. Sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, salawat ala Muhammad wa alayhi Muhammad. From us is Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. From us is Hamza, the Prophet's uncle. From us is Ja'far. From us is Hassan. And from us is Hussein. And from us is the Mahdi. Salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. 7 excellence he counted. And then he says, those of you who know me, they know me. But those who do not know me, he was telling those, there were dignitaries there, they were not Muslims. They were people of Christian denomination. There were people of Jewish denomination. In fact, there was the top-notch representative of the Vatican's Pope was there. There was a top-notch rabbi who was sitting just beside Yazid. So it was not only the Muslims that were sitting there. And Imam is talking that those who you know me, they know me, but who do not know me, I will tell you who I am. And the way he introduces himself is magnificent. He doesn't say that I am Zain al-Abidin, son of Hussein, and son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. No. He says, I am the son of Makkah, and Abnu Makkah wa Mina. I am the son of Makkah and Mina. I am the son of Zamzam and Safa. See how he introduces himself. I am the son of the best man to have held the black stone in his robe, and the best of them to have circumambulated the Kaaba, that is the Prophet. I am the son of the man who was taken by Buraq through the air. I am the son of the man who led the angels in the heavens in prayer. That's his great-grandfather Prophet. I am the son of the man who was raised on Sidratul Muntaha. I am the son of Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli alayhi. I am the son of Aliyun al-Murtada, who fought the disbelievers until they said La ilaha illallah. I am the son of the man who fought with 2 swords and 2 spears and who went through 2 migrations. That's Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. I am the son of the believers, the pious ones, the descendant of the Prophet, the annihilator of the polytheists, the kuffar, the commander of the faithful, the glory of the worshippers, Amirul Mu'mineen. And then he continues, I am the son of the man who fought the disbelievers, and the man who was the best of the one in prayer, the guardian of Allah's wisdom after the Prophet. Look at the words, pregnant with so many meanings. He doesn't take names as such. And his arrows targeted all the hypocrites. I am the son of the master of Iraq. I am the son of the lion of Hijaz. I am the son of a Makki. I am the son of a Madani. I am a son of a Badri. I am a son of a Khifi. And I am a son of a Muhajir and an Ansari. That is my grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Then he says, I am the son of the masters of the youth of paradise. Sayyida Shababi Ahlil Jannah. Then he says, I am the son of Fatima to Zahra. Till he says, I am the son of the man who was slain in the desert of Karbala, the grandson of the Prophet. When he said this, Yazid says, tell the Muazzin to go recite Azan quickly, because now he is leading in a very dangerous manner. So go tell the Muazzin to go on the pulpit. Do not let him continue. He is telling his advisor, do not let him continue. And when the Muazzin said, Allahu Akbar, Imam said, of course, there is no one but Allah, greater than Allah. Muazzin said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Imam said, my eyes and my whole body and my soul testifies that there is no Lord but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then when the Muazzin said, Ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah, Imam addressed Yazid directly, looking into his eyes, and says, O Yazid, is Muhammad your grandfather or is he mine? And the people are listening. Is he your grandfather or is he mine? And he says, if you say he is your grandfather, you are a liar. There was a kerfuffle in the whole of the court. You know, it was like a rebellion that happened at that time. Literally, people got upset. And they started asking, what has Yazid done? Who are these people? In fact, the rabbi, there are two instances that I know, that the rabbi got up and he addressed Yazid directly. He was the chief rabbi of the Jewish community. And he said, Yazid, you know that the stick that parted the Red Sea of Musa, we worship that stick. And you killed the family of your prophet on whose seat you are sitting right now. And the Christian, the Vatican's, the Pope's emissary, he got up and he said, Yazid, you know that donkey that Jesus used to travel on? We worship that donkey. And you have killed them? He ordered them both to be killed. And they were killed right in the court there. So you see the impact that Imam Zainul Abidin created at that time. So this is just a gist. I mean, I'm not even going through the details of the khutbah that he has recited. But I'm just making you aware, especially the children, the youngsters, that Imam Zainul Abidin, when he spoke, he shook the throne of Yazid. The feet could not stay on the ground. And Imam Zainul Abidin lived for 35 years after Karbala. Now, what did Imam Zainul Abidin do 35 years after Karbala? He tried to reform the society he was living in. Why? Because Imam Zainul Abidin, when he returned back from Sham, when he was released from the prison, he knew that those people who were there at the helm of the Islamic Empire were the same people who had killed his father, who had killed brutally his family. And these are the same people, he knew, that in their salah, they would testify, Ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah, and yet they killed the grandson of the Prophet. I mean, see the irony of the whole thing. He knew. I mean, if there was any other ordinary person like me, I would say, enough is enough. Let Allah take care of his mission himself. I have suffered enough. I've gone through torture enough. I don't have to go through this process anymore. But no. He began, therefore, Imam Zainul Abidin therefore began a reform to reform the society on the whole Islamic empire. In 35 years, he gave life to Islam and his blood. He gave blood to Islam, which was in a state of death. After Karbala, Islam was almost dead. People didn't even want to say the name of Amir al-Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. That's how scared they were. They would not associate themselves with the household of the Prophet. And he took serious steps in his life and gave Islam, especially after they killed Imam Hussein. He was looking for a strategy to reform the whole of the Muslim society. And how did he do that? I'll just give you a précis of 2 or 3 things that he did. The first thing that he did was, you see, what he could have done, he could have opened a school like a Hawza, taken in students and taught them the true Islam that emanates from the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt. They wouldn't allow that. He would not even lasted 24 hours. Because they were already keeping an eye on him. There was literally, the government was scared of him. So what he did was that he started purchasing servants. You know, at that time, slavery was there. It was still in force. So he started purchasing servants from Ethiopia, Sudan, from Northern Africa, Algiers, Mauritania, Libya, and all these places. And he brought them into his house and turned them into his students. He knew that the Arabs, their minds are so closed, unfortunately, that if you hit them with a hammer, they would not open. That's how the society was at that time. They hit them with a hammer, and the Arab mind will not open. They were set in their ways. Sometimes we are set in our ways. So the best option, what is it? Let me bring in servants in the house, purchase the slaves, and then treat them like my own, culture them, teach them the ulum of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, of my grandfather, and slowly there will be a change. 35 years is a long time. You know, 35 years, a generation and a generation changes. And how would they change? You know, have you noticed that when a convert who converts to or reverts to Islam is more conscious of Islam than we who are born in the religion? A convert is more aware of Islam than you and me. And this is exactly what Imam alayhi salam did with these servants. He treated them like his own. He taught them in his house, and he brings the servants, teaches them in the manners and the principles of Ahlul Bayt in his house. Salaat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Then, once they were trained, what did he do? He released them. He released them into the empire. Go and teach the ulum of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad in every street, in every house. Medina, Makkah, Kufa, Basra, right up to North Africa. He sent them. And then he told them that after 6 months, come back and give me reports of what's going on. So they used to come and report to him. I mean, subtle. The way he taught them was with ingenuity, that the ulum of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, so that the people should revert back to Ahlul Bayt. When they came back, and Imam asked for the reports, and they said, Mawla, Ibn Rasulullah, it's not going too well. And he said, why? He says, we are speaking to the adults, but they don't respond because they are set in their ways. They are set in their ways. They don't respond. So Imam said, leave the adults. Ignore the adults. Alaykum bil ahda. Means what? Alaykum bil ahda means target the youth. Target the young ones. The elders or the adults will not listen. Approach the younger ones and tell them about Rasulullah, and tell them about Ali ibn Abi Talib, tell them about Imam Hassan, and tell them. 35 years, the whole society changed. They were more conducive to the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This is one reformation. I can give you so many examples, but no time. He wrote this magnificent piece. I talked about it in my khutbah. Magnificent piece of book that we have, the book of supplication written. I mean, it is the greatest book of supplication ever written by a human being, which is known as al-Sahifatus Sajjadiyah. One of the greatest supplications of dua. Dua is what opens up our relations with Allah, and as I said, it's not a book of dua. It is in the form of dua, but instructions for us how to act upon it. He felt that when the Arabs had killed his father, They had lost all the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their lives. For them, after the brutal murder of Ahlul Bayt, there was no God. There was no more God to them. So he starts writing Sahifatul Sajjadiyya, a dua for mother, a dua for father, dua for the children, a dua for the sick, dua for the defense of the Muslim community, a dua for every stage you can think of in your life. And you know what the shame is? That the lovers of Imam Zainul Abidin, we have hardly read any duas. That's the best part. Shame on us. It's very embarrassing. We've hardly touched that book. I mean, maybe we have, many of us, we don't even have that book in our house. And we haven't even read properly a single dua to take instructions from Imam Zainul. I mean, isn't this a shame? It's a shame. In the library, I read this article about 10, 12 years ago in one of the magazines that was produced in Europe. He said in the Library of Vatican, you know, Vatican, the Pope sometimes grants permission for different denominations of religions and madhab to come and visit the Vatican. And fortunately, one of our Shia brothers, he was included in that group, and he went to see the Vatican. He met the Pope. I don't remember the name. It was a long time ago that I read. And they were given a tour, a huge library in Vatican, huge, massive library in Vatican. And when he was looking through so many, different subjects and different the venues of the books, he came across Sahifatul Sajjadiyya in so many volumes in Vatican Library. And he called the Archbishop, Baba Scoffo. He called the Archbishop and he said, what is this book doing here? This is the pillar and foundation of Christianity. What is this book doing here, Sahifatul Sajjadiyya? And it's an astounding reply that the Archbishop gave. He says, we have book in our Bible, which is known as the Zabur, which is the Psalms of David. Our Psalms of David is inferior to the supplication of this book. A Christian Archbishop admits. He says that book is so magnificent that our Psalms of David is nothing compared to what this book is. That is why this Sahifatul Sajjadiyya in our terms is known as the Psalms of Ali Muhammad. This book is known as the Zabur of Ali Muhammad. Because the book of Psalms in the Bible is the book of dua, correct? So Imam Sahifatul Sajjadiyya, one of the most beautiful dua is Makarimul Akhlaq. If you go through even one sentence a day, we will gain so much of light and knowledge in our lives. Phenomenal dua. Especially there are 3 lines I will tell you, and this is something that concerns you and me who are sitting here today. This dua. Well, what does he say? وَعَبْدِلِّ مِن مُغْذَةِ أَهْلِ الشَّنَانَ الْمُحَبَّةِ. Now this is for people like us, family who are willing to fight and vilify their own family members. Sometimes we have fight with our own family members. Brothers don't talk to brothers. Sisters don't talk to sisters. There is always a conflict between in-laws. And look what Imam says, وَعَبْدِلْنِي مِنْ بُغْضَةِ أَهْلِ الْشَنَانَ الْمُحَبَّةِ وَمِنْ حَسَدِ أَهْلِ الْبَغْيِ مُوَدَّةِ وَمِنْ ظَنِّ أَهْلِ الصَّلَاحِ السِّكَّةِ وَمِنْ عَدَاوَةِ الْأَدْنَيْنَ الْوَلَايَةِ وَمِنْ أُقُقِ ذَوِي الْأَرْحَامِ الْمَبَرَّةِ. This is for ulul arham. Dua for ulul arham. How to get connected with people from the womb, means your blood relations, your uncles, your aunties, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your distant cousins, whoever is related to the womb of your father and your mother. This is what it is. Imam says, Ya Allah, but now he says in the form of dua, but we have to take the first step to act on these instructions. He says, Ya Allah, change the hatred of my relatives, of my ulul arham, into love for me. Now how will that happen? How will that happen? Unless if I take the first step, I'm not talking to my brother, I'm not talking to my cousin, I'm fighting with my sister, I'm fighting with my so-and-so. Unless if I take the first step take out that rancour and anger in my heart and approach them. Bisilh. Make peace with them. Change their, Imam says, change their difficulty into ease. Even if I am not speaking with them, and the moment I come to know that my brother is in trouble, my cousin is in trouble, I stand by his side and offer him all the help that I have with my time, with my wealth, or whatever. This is what it is, change the difficulty into ease. Imam, in these few lines in this dua, he saw around him in the society that, it's like any other society. Silatul Rahim was broken. There was no connection between ulul arham. Cousins don't know each other. Brothers' children don't know each other. So he wrote, brothers hate each other, sisters hate each other, in-laws hate each other. So he wrote this code of conduct in the form of makarimul akhlaq, so that the akhlaq and the love in the family and the people rebounds and reconnects, and we have to act on it. It's not just that we put our hands on our hands and just sit and say Allahumma, that's it. No, the instruction is that you reach out to them. If they are in difficulty, you reach out to them. If they are in any problem, you reach out to them. These are the instructions for us. It's not only supplication. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And the third thing, which is very important, Risalatul Hukuk, Charter of Human Rights. It's a thick book with 50 Charter of Rights. A book with 50 books in it. We can say 50 long surahs in it. Right of yourself, right of your mother, right of your father, right of your brother, right of your sister, right of your stomach, right of your private parts, right of your eyes, right of your hands, right of your ears, rights of those who are fasting and prayer, rights of non-Muslims, Muslims over non-Muslims, how to treat the non-Muslims, rights of everything you can imagine in your life. Charter of Human Rights. It's known as Risalatul Hukuk. You go Google and you'll find it. It's on Google, very easy. Charter of Human Rights. United Nations today boasts that they've got a declaration and Charter of Human Rights. Do they have this? Does it tell me the right of God? The United Nations Charter of Human Rights. Does it tell me the right of my soul on myself? The right of my eyes? The right of my hands? The right of my father or mother? Does the United Nations Charter deal with this? Imam Zainul Abidin, 1400 years before the UN prepared this Declaration of Human Rights, wrote this Risalatul Hukuk and the Treaties of Human Rights. And the most interesting part of this treaty, I'll just give you a gist and then move on, is the rights of the father, which is so interesting. I find it very appealing. Imam says, وَأَمَّا حَقٌّ أَبِيكَ فَانْتَعْلَمَ أَنَّهُ أَسْلُكَ وَأَنَّهُ لَوْلَا لَمْ تَكُنْ. That he is, know that the right of your father, that he is your root, and without him you would not have been on this earth. وَأَنَّهُ لَوْلَا لَمْ تَكُنْ فَمَهْمَا رَأَيْتَ نَفْسِكَ مِمَّا يُعْجِبُكَ. If anything that amazes you, if you have any quality in you, you are a brilliant student, or you are a brilliant man, you are an intelligent man, you are a very learned person, you may be a rocket scientist. فَعْلَمْ أَنَّ أَبَاكَ أَصْلُ النِّعْمَةِ. Remember that it is because of your father you are like this, that you have gained this. عَلَيْكَ فِيهِ وَاحْمَدِ اللَّهَ وَاشْكُرْهُ عَلَى قَدْرِ ذَلِكَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. It's because of your father's blessings that you are what you are. And today we see children sometimes, when they reach the zenith, the heights, the first thing they forget is their parents. And here Imam says, if anything to adults, me, if anything impresses me, know that it is the root and the blessing of your father. So he wrote this Risalatul Hukuk. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And of course, the fourth thing was azadari. I mean, after Karbala, there was no happiness in the house of Ahlul Bayt. So sad. They used to invite him for marriage ceremonies, for wedding ceremonies. And Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein used to say no. And they used to insist. And they said, I will attend your nikah ceremony provided you make aza of my father. He goes to the wedding ceremonies where on the mimbar a zakir is reciting the gham, the masaib of Karbala, and Imam is sitting down where they keep the shoes and he is arranging the shoes of the people who are coming into this azai Hussein. I mean, do not look at this azadari. I mean, we are here, we are very fortunate. Allah blesses us when we are sitting in azadari of Ahlul Bayt. But it is a mega institution that has got so much of opposition today in the world. Look at Pakistan, look at Afghanistan, look at Taliban, look at ISIS. What do they target? Azadari. Why do they target the Shias? Why? Because they've got two horns? No. It's because of azadari. Because of this love of Imam Hussein, love of Ahlul Bayt. Today, the opposition, if anything that the Shias face today and they are killed, it's because of azadari, my brothers and sisters. Yes. I will recite Masaib for a few minutes in Urdu and then I will switch back to English. बस मैं क्या बयान करूं मैं आज जिसकी शहादत का दिन है मेरे दोस्तों. Because these words that I recite in Urdu, there is no parallel in English, because there is no impact. Because I'm going to recite some Marsiya from Mir Anis and Mirza Dabir, and I cannot explain it in English. Therefore, you have to try and understand in Urdu. शहादत का दिन है इमाम ज़ैनुल आबिदीन, उसकी शहादत है, उस मजलूम की शहादत है जिसको हम हुसैन का पुरसा देते. We grieve and we offer our condolences to him on his father. हम हुसैन को पुरसा देते हैं. वो कूफे और शाम का थका मुसाफिर. I don't know how to put this. कूफे और शाम का थका मुसाफिर जो रास्ते की ज़हमतें उठाता रहा, कांटों पे चलता रहा, तकलीफ़ें बर्दाश्त करता रहा, और इमाम से किसी ने पूछा कि मौला बताइए सबसे ज़्यादा मुसीबत आप पर कहाँ पड़ी. We all know this. कि आप पर मुसीबत सबसे ज़्यादा कहाँ पड़ी. Mir Anis alayhi rahma, you know that one of those famous poets of Lucknow. I mean, he is a gigantic poet who has written poetry in shan of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. He says in Urdu, Mir Anis says, अपनी गुफ्तगू में कहते हैं कि आबिद से ये वतन में किसी ने किया कलाम. आबिद से ये वतन में किसी ने किया कलाम. गुजरी कहाँ ज़्यादा मुसीबत या इमाम. मौला ने 3 बार कहा अशाम अशाम अशाम. 3 times मंजर खींचा है शाम का. मिनहाल कूफी आते हैं. मिनहाल one of the best companions, उसका सहाबी है, इमाम बहुत करीब था वो इमाम ज़ैनुल आबिदीन से. वो आते हैं कहते हैं मौला करबला के वाक़े को 30 साल गुजर गए. फिनिश 30 years. 30 साल गुजर गए. कब तक आप रोएंगे, कब तक आप मातम करेंगे. और कहता है मौला शहीदों का मातम कैसा यब्न रसूलुल्लाह, ये तो शहीद हुए हैं. दे आर मार्टर्स. शहादत तो आपका विरसा है. Martyrdom is your inheritance. Look at the way he puts his words, chooses his words. कि मौला शहादत तो आपका विरसा है. बट इतना जो कहना था कि इमाम ने एक मरतबा कहा मिनहाल तूने इंसाफ नहीं किया. यू हैव नॉट डन जस्टिस टू मी. तूने इंसाफ नहीं किया. शहीद होना एक इज्जत है, ठीक है, मगर ये बताओ मिनहाल कि हमारी बीबियों का, हमारी बहनों का, हमारी फूफियों का, हमारी अहले बैत का नंगे सर बाजारों और दरबारों में घसीट के फिराए जाना, ये क्या हमारी विरासत है? Is this our inheritance? that our Ahlul Bayt were paraded and dragged to the bazaars of Kufa and Sham. Minhal, Imam says, Minhal कहते हैं, Minhal तूने इंसाफ नहीं किया. जब हम कूफा और शाम के बाजारों में चले हैं तो एक मुनादी निदा देता था कि हाज़िही सबाया मिम्मनात रसूलिल्लाह, कि ये रसूलिल्लाह की साहबजादियाँ है. एक मुनादी कूफा को शाम के बाजार में निदा देता था कि और ये रसूलुल्लाह की साहबजादियाँ मिनहाल हमें शाम की राहों में इस तरह लेकर गए हैं खींच खींच कर कि गोया कोई ऐसा गुलाम जा रहा है जिसका कोई मददगार नहीं. इमाम ज़ैनब कहती है कि जब हम शाम के बाजार से गुजरे, you know, the Sham, Bazaar of Sham, it is Suq al-Hamadiyya as they call it now. कहते हैं वहां जब हम गुजरे हैं तो वो गर्म पानी मेरे भतीजे पे फेंकते थे, बॉइलिंग वाटर, गर्म पानी, उबलता हुआ पानी अली इब्न हुसैन के सर पे डालते थे, पत्थर मारते थे मेरे भतीजे को. बीबी ज़ैनब रिलेटिंग. And Mir Anis ने क्या नज़ारा कशी की है. मीर अनीस कहते हैं कि जैसे इमाम ज़ैनुल आबिदीन कहते हैं, वो कहते हैं कि सरनंगे, लाइक इमाम ज़ैनुल आबिदीन का कलाम, कि सरनंगे मेरा कुंबा था, सरनंगे मेरा कुंबा था और गिर्द खासो आम. सरनंगे मेरा कुंबा था और गिर्द खासो आम. रांडों का हाल देख अदू शाद होते थे और बाबा का सर भी रोता था और हम भी रोते थे. Means the enemies were celebrating and pelting us with stones, and the head of Imam Hussein was crying, and so were we. मकातिल ये बात बताती है कि जिस नेज़े पे सवार था इमाम हुसैन का सर, अचानक आंख खुली हुई थी, पेशानी पे सजदों के गड्ढे थे, लेकिन एक ऐसा मकाम शाम के बाजार में, एक सख्त मकाम ऐसा आया, बहन ज़ैनब देख रही है सर को, और बहन ने देखा, जब बहन ने देखा कि भाई ने अपनी आंखें बंद करना शुरू की और एक ऐसा मकाम आया कि इमाम हुसैन के सर की आंखें मुतलकन इमाम की आंखें बंद हो गई. This is how they were treated in the bazaar of Sham. And this is where we say that the saddest part, Ya Rasulullah, the saddest part is that Imam Muhammad Baqir, he says, now this is something that will make you cry for the rest of the day. Imam Muhammad Baqir says that when I came towards the bed, towards my father in the final moments of his life, he was about to die because poison that was given to him by Walid, there was no remedy for it. The ruling caliph had poisoned Imam Zainul Abidin. It was 35 years after Karbala. He says, I approached my father on the bed. The poison had affected his body already, and I came and embraced and hugged my father along his chest. At the moment I hugged my father started to cry uncontrollably. And he says, Imam Baqir says that I have never seen my father cry like this. And I said, Ya Abata, oh father, why do you cry like this? In a moment you will see Rasulullah, because now you are going, you will see in a moment Fatimatul Zahra, your grandmother. In a moment you will see your father Imam al-Hussein. And listen to the reply. He says, my son Baqir, Ya Bunayya Baqir, I cry because I am dying and you are hugging me, you are on my chest, you are consoling me. My father was dying on the plains of Karbala and Shimr was on his chest. Shimmer was on his chest and severing his head. These lines, that grief remained with him. This grief remained with him, with Imam Zainul Abidin, till the day he died. And once he told Abu Hamza, he told his friend Abu Hamza Simali, that Nabi Yusuf cried so much for Nabi Ayyub, cried for Nabi Yusuf. Even though he knew that Yusuf is alive, but I saw members of my family killed and brutally murdered in front of my eyes. And do you not expect me to cry for that? وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا آلَ مُحَمَّدٍ أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ فَإِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Ya Allah, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise us with Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, inshallah, to allow us to be amongst his companions and those who follow his message. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who are ill in the community. In the name, Ya Allah, Bimare Karbala, to grant them shifa and complete recovery. Al-Fatiha, Shifa'i Marda, wal Maghfiratil Amwat. Thawab al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Rahman ar-Rahim.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Parda duniya ko sikhane wali ai bazaron mein Zainab. Parda duniya ko sikhane wali ai bazaron mein Zainab. Parda duniya ai bazaron mein Zainab. Kar se bahar binane wali, kar se bahar binane wali ai bazaron mein Zainab. Parda duniya ko sikhane wali ai bazaron mein Zainab. Parda duniya ai bazar mein Zainab. Jisne baba se churaye te kai baare asi, jisne baba se churaye te kai baare asi. قیدی آزاد کرانے والی، قیدی آزاد کرانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب. پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب. پردہ دنیا آئی بازاروں میں زینب. چلتے خیموں سے اٹھا لائی عباس کے بعد، چلتے خیموں سے اٹھا لائی عباس کے بعد. علی عابد کو بچانے والی، علی عابد کو بچانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب. پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں. پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے آئی بازاروں میں زینب. دین کی خاطر یہ بی بی سالار بنی، دین کی خاطر یہ بی بی سالار بنی. بنک عباس دکھانے والی، بنک عباس دکھانے والی، آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی، آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ والی، آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی، آئی بازاروں میں زینب۔ یا حسین 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 یا حسین۔ شام کا بازار عابد بیمار، شام کا بازار عابد بیمار، شام کا بازار پاؤں میں بیڑی تو ہو کے گرا بار، شام کا بازار عابد بیمار، شام کا بازار بھولے گا نہ وہ منظر نیزے پہ سر سرور، بھولے گا نہ وہ منظر نیزے پہ سر سرور، بے مکنہ بے چادر بلوے میں پھوپھی مادر، اور مجمع کفار عابد بیمار، شام کا بازار عابد بیمار، شام کا بازار عابد بیمار، شام کا بازار بازار کی زیبائی کھوٹوں پہ تماشائی، بازار کی زیبائی کھوٹوں پہ تماشائی، آدھا کی سفر آئے اور عالم تنہائی، وہ بے کس و لاچار عابد بیمار، شام کا بازار شام شام کا بازار۔ حاکم نے یہ سن پایا تو اور ستم ڈھایا، حاکم نے یہ سن پایا تو اور ستم ڈھایا، سرپوش کو سرکایا اور بچی کو دکھلایا، چلائی وہ ایک بار عابد بیمار، شام کا بازار شام کا بازار شام کا بازار۔ کچھ شمر سے فرما دو گردن میری کھلوا دو، کچھ شمر سے فرما دو گردن میری کھلوا دو، سر بابا کا دلوا دو یا اس کو یہ سمجھا دو، مارے نہ ستمگار عابد بیمار، شام کا بازار شام کا بازار شام کا بازار۔ یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات، اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد۔ توجہ زیارت۔ السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، يا علي بن أبي طالب، يا مرتضى، السلام عليك يا فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، يا قرة عين الرسول، السلام عليك يا حسن مجتبى، السلام عليك يا حسين شهيد كربلاء سيد شباب أهل الجنة، السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين، يا سجاد، يا زين العابدين، السلام عليك يا أولاد الحسين وأصحاب الحسين، السلام عليك يا شهداء كربلاء، السلام عليك يا أسيران كربلاء، السلام عليك يا السيدة زينب، السلام عليك يا غازي عباس، السلام عليك ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك يا محمد الباقر، السلام عليك يا جعفر الصادق، السلام عليك يا موسى الكاظم، السلام عليك يا علي رضاه، السلام عليك يا محمد تقي، السلام عليك يا علي نقي، السلام عليك يا حسن العسكري، السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان والأمان والأمان، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، السلام عليك يا كأبة الإيمان، أجله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك، السلام عليك يا أهل بيت نبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله على محمد وآل محمد.